So on this job, our customer said that he'd already changed the filter, changed the nozzle, got that all cleaned up, and tried to fire it, but it's not firing at all. Before he could get it to light and it would come on for a little bit before it shut off, but now no luck at all. So the one thing he didn't do was clean the screen inside of his pump. So we're gonna take that apart first so that we know that the whole thing is clean. Not our problem. We use a simple brake cleaner to spray these off, but you could use pretty much anything. You can buy a new screen if you need it, if it's destroyed or too dirty, but they're cleanable if it's not too bad. Here's our new gasket. You want to make sure it goes on properly. The top part has a hole in it, the bottom doesn't. And then on the pump, this is where that hole is. That needs to be lined up. So we're going to put it on just like that. And then the strainer. I also like to wipe the inside because a lot of times junk will sit on the inside of that cover. But this one's pretty clean. That's how you clean your pump. Biggest thing people would forget is turning the oil off from your tank. You're gonna get a bath if you don't turn it off. You also want to make sure you start all 4 bolts before you tighten any of them, because that could, if you don't start all of them, you could strip them or get them so that the other ones won't start. Yeah, it can be hard to line these up. Once they're all snug, I like to go around one more time and make sure they're all tight. So that clearly wasn't our problem. He was pretty clean. It still could be a pump problem, but not the cleanliness of it. Okay. Next, we're gonna bleed the pump with the 3/8, put it all together and see what it does. Can I get the 3/8 and the 7/16? Yeah, 3/8 is for the bleeder, and then your nozzle assembly line. Let me get the other wrenches too. Make sure it's not tight. Your nozzle assembly, that's going to go in there. That little nut there that I'm zooming in on.
right there. That's a 7/16. I'll show you how to do it.
It wasn't that tight.
Here he's using a 5/8 and a 3/4 to make sure the nozzle's tight.
Okay.
You have the nut for that?
I saw it somewhere.
He had it. It's probably on the floor there.
Yeah.
With that nut he's putting on right now, it has a flat side and has an indented side. You want the indented side to face out. You'll see when he moves his hand what I'm talking about. So yeah, you want the indent to be toward you, and the flat should be flat up against the burner assembly, or else it'll leak oil. That nut he's putting on right now to the nozzle is a 7/16. Finger tight, and snug it up.
Okay.
Cad cells out of it.
All this you want to be doing while the power's off. If you didn't do that already.
Power off no matter what you're doing, honestly. Just to be safe. Customer said there's no screws there. There should be a screw for a lot of reasons. Safety, one of them, but also if you get light in there, it won't run, because these work off of light on whether or not they think there's a flame or not. So the safety in there, the CAD cell works off of the light from the flame. So we'll put a new screw in there. You only need one, honestly.
So we're loosening this with our 3/8. Opening the oil.
This is the same way if you run out of oil and you have to do a restart.
There's another one over here.
You just open up your oil line, crack that 3/8. You can see it bubbling, so that's because we had the pump off, so he lost his prime in there. So we're gonna run him here and get that air out.
Power on.
Burner's on reset. That red button is up there. Push him down, it should run if it has a call for heat. So right now we're probably just waiting for the Aquastat to tell it to turn on. If he doesn't want to turn on, we're gonna have to give him a call for heat. Now if you notice there, that primary is acting a little funny, so he could be a suspect on why this isn't working, but we'll have to determine that. That might be it.
Yeah, that looks like a steady stream of oil, so we're not getting any air.
Go till it's steady. That looks good. And if your oil's not pink, keep bleeding it. You don't want any brown oil or any water. If it's not pink like that, keep bleeding until it is. If you have water in your tank, it could take gallons out.
Okay, here we go.
These primaries, sometimes he's trying to push it down. It's not wanting to go down. A lot of times you have to wait a little bit. They have a little delay in them. So there we lit up.
Fired.
So we'll see if he stays lit or if we're having a problem here. Customer said it used to fire, but now no matter what he did, it would not. So we'll see what we got.
While it's running, I'm gonna look into there's a barometric damper on the side of the stack.
Let's go over it.
But I'm gonna look in to see the smoke and see if it's dark. If it's black, that means it's not burning properly. The smoke should pretty much be invisible. That means it's burning really nice.
It's gonna be hard to catch on camera, but we'll see. Here we are to the barometric.
And I can't really see any smoke. It's not always going to be visible, but that looks really good. I can't see, it's not billowing black smoke or anything.
Yeah, so either that chimney's totally 100% clogged on the inside and there's no smoke coming out, or he's looking good. We'll see.
So far, so good.
I don't smell anything. So he could be fixed, but we're gonna do a few more checks and make sure he's running for a while, make sure everything heats up. So we're back, we just shut it off. Everything was working good. However, we did look inside this sight glass, or whatever you want to call it, peephole. And there is quite a lot of soot there. So we're probably gonna clean the whole furnace, just because it most likely needs serviced. So right now we're checking the primary, which is that gray control box. Sadly, we weren't filming. There it went for a second. Yeah. So you see it just shut itself off. And this is actually a rare occasion. That red button's down. Usually the red button will pop up. But that's...
You can actually hear a slight buzzing inside. And that's a contactor telling everything to run, but it's not running. So this is definitely bad.
It's bad. And if he taps on it again, it might even fire up. So it went on reset when he tapped it. You saw that red button come up. So we're looking at a bad primary for this one. We are still going to clean it because it looks like it's pretty dirty, but he's looking at a bad primary box, and we'll show you how to change it. It's not too hard. Looking at this primary, and now that we know the primary is the problem, if you're coming down all the time and hitting this reset button and it fires right up, you know, here and there, maybe every couple days, you're probably looking at a primary. Now, it could be a lot of other components. It could be the igniter or the pump. They both can be intermittent problems, but usually if you hit the primary and it fires right up, and it seems very random when it works and doesn't, you could definitely be looking at a bad primary control box there.
So we're going to replace this primary control, which is just what sends power to the burner to make it run. There's usually 2 screws, one in the top left, right in here, and then one on the bottom right.
Watch your hand.
We do have the power off already. Now this is going to pop right off.
Like he said, power off, because there is 120 volts going to this thing on the black wire.
And our wires are going underneath this, so we got to open this up. Okay. So going into these primaries, there's 3 wires, black, white, and orange. Black and white will be 120 volts, and the neutral going to the box. And then orange is what sends power. Once there's a call for heat and this reset button is down, it'll send the power to the motor, the igniter, and then if you have a solenoid with your oil, it'll send it to those 3 things. Each of these, the motor, igniter, solenoid, will have a power and a neutral. The neutral will just go in with all the other neutrals. But we'll do one at a time. So
basically, if you pull this off, you're going to have wire nuts down there. Pull the orange one off, put your orange one in one at a time.
Yeah.
Pull your black one off, put the black one on. You just replace what was already there.
Try not to change anything, but if you get mixed up, we'll show you what they do.
So as you can see, we have the exact same primary that we're replacing it with, just to keep it easy.
We're going to take the orange off, and here we have, one moment, black going to the igniter, and orange going to the motor. So we're gonna take our orange on the new primary.
Go through the hole.
We are gonna do that, yeah. And then we have our neutrals. And I can now pull this out. We also have our CAD cell right here. There's two wires, they're usually yellow, that'll come through and go to FF. So I'm gonna take those off with a flathead screwdriver. These are Phillips.
Now on a boiler, you also have TT. On a boiler, you jump TT.
When it has the aquastat.
It has an aquastat, which almost all of them will. So you have FF on here, which is labeled on the top, and TT. So you'll also take that, if it's a boiler with this box, an aquastat.
So this is...
Then you'll jump the new one
off. Too. Where's the new one? So this is our power coming in. We have white and black. So our black's going to be power. Take our black to black.
Now he knows where these go, but like we said in the beginning, you want to go one at a time, match the colors up, make sure you don't mess up anything if you don't necessarily know what you're doing too well.
Yeah.
Just go one at a time so you don't lose your wires.
Put the nut on, gently pull on it, make sure it's in good. We'll take our... I'll put that to the side. Now I'm going to bring all these wires through because they're easier to work with when they're in the box with the primary.
Black, white, and orange stay under the primary. And like he said, your FF, which is your two yellows that go to that little eye on your igniter, they actually go through the hole on the bottom and go to the top of the primary, which I'll show you.
Yeah.
Now on this specific igniter, since it's old, both the wires are black coming off of it.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter on the igniter which is hot, which is neutral. It's just basically a circuit.
Okay, so we've got them all in here. We've got our motor wires. I'm going to take this one. Again, it doesn't matter. This will be power. So I'm going to take this and one leg of the transformer and put it to orange.
So you got all your orange wires there. Now, technically colors don't matter, but for those who don't know, you want to match the colors. But, you know, these wires could be any color, obviously.
Except for the primary, those colors, those matter.
I just mean follow the colors, but if you get lost because the colors aren't making sense, you probably want to call a professional because they might not have wired it with the colors.
Now we're going to take the neutral coming into the box from the aquastat through here. That's this guy. You can see it. And we're going to take our neutral on the primary. The other leg of the transformer and the other leg of the motor. So there should be 4 wires.
At least. It depends if you have a solenoid or whatever. A lot of times the neutrals, since everything needs a neutral, you can get quite a few wires. If there's too many, you can do 2 wire ties and then connect them together, or 2 wire nuts.
Like this, basically.
Yeah, so they already did that. Those 2 are connected, but they didn't want to have a massive wire nut, so they just made 2 separate and tied them together.
Or if one's too short.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
Same idea.
Luckily we didn't have to strip any wires here, but you may need to strip a wire back if there's not enough showing, or who knows what.
Lastly is the CAD cell wiring, and these 2 are going to go through this hole from here and then through this hole on the front. And then these are going to go to FF right here. Give a flathead.
Like we were alluding to earlier on this type, and again, just follow whatever was there. Don't change anything. If your primary FF was jumped with a wire, jump it. If it wasn't, do whatever was there, but we're gonna take the jumper off the old one and put it on there once he's done with FF. The key is to not change anything. Rewire it how it was. If you don't feel confident wiring this, some of the wiring could ruin other components. So if you really don't feel comfortable or feel like you went wrong somewhere, you should definitely call a professional and have them do it for you.
But if you follow the directions, you should be good.
Yeah, what could go wrong? And just while he's finishing that FF is that light we alluded to earlier. This eye right here looks into the burner, and if it sees light, it won't let it start. Or if it is supposed to be lit and it sees light, then it'll keep running. So that's your little safety there. It senses the light. And that's what he's hooking up there. It's just a safety to let it know if there's a fire or not in the chamber.
And the other thing it does is if there's a flame, but it thinks there's not a flame, it'll still shut off. So if everything's running good and it'll shut off, your CAD cell might be bad. Okay, that's all done. So now we're gonna tuck all the wires underneath. Make sure none of them break loose out of their wire nuts when you're stuffing them in.
These primaries you can buy on supplyhouse.com, Amazon, whatever. The big thing is you're going to want to look at the model of your old one and try and match it up. There's quite a few different types that'll do different things. You definitely don't want to be mixing and matching primaries if you don't necessarily know what you're doing. So definitely try and find the closest or the one that says it's a replacement for the one you had before. Clean primary looks a little out of place here with the tubes. Fix it in post.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so all he has left to do is steal that jumper wire from the last one and we should be on our way. Well, and we'll probably put the chimney back on.
Yeah, you cannot forget this or it won't run.
Mm-hmm. And if you have forced hot air and not a boiler, that your thermostat wires will just most likely, unless you have zones and craziness, a zone box, they'll just go straight to FF. Or TT, sorry. TT is your thermostat, but on a boiler, most of the time, that just gets jumped out because the control box up here does all the thinking for it. So yeah, that'll be it. He's just gonna throw that in, tighten it down, and we're done with the primary. All right, we're about to fire him up.
So we got the power back on. We have the reset up. The red light on the side is lit, and we're gonna fire it up.
We're gonna see if we stink or if we're awesome.
Looks like we're awesome.
Let's see this bad boy. So the last thing you want to do after you fire your boiler is pull out your testo to test the flue gas. You go on the internet, they're only a couple $1,000s. You pick one up, you know, chump change, stick it in that hole and see how he's burning. I think we're fixed.